It happened on a Sunday. You were sitting at the table, same chair you'd had for years, the one near the window with the worn cushion. Your daughter was visiting. She was scrolling through her phone, talking about deadlines, appointments, a thousand things that didn't include you. You tried to speak. You know, I used to. She cut you off, didn't even look up. Dad, not now, please. And that was it. She didn't mean it cruelly. She didn't even notice what she'd done. But you did. And you sat there, your story dying in your throat, your heart shrinking into your chest like a child asked to be quiet. And in that moment, you realized something terrifying. You've become invisible. Not because you've done something wrong, not because you've failed, but because somewhere along the way, you stopped being seen. You became background. A ride to the airport, a babysitter when it's convenient, a line in the family group chat no one responds to. You gave them everything: time, money, patience, sacrifice. You thought it would come back in love, in respect, in presence. But now, they talk to you like you're a burden, or worse, like you're just old. And inside, a quiet voice whispers, "How did I let this happen?" The truth is, you didn't ask for this. But maybe, without realizing it, you allowed it. By staying silent when they dismissed you, by laughing off the eye rolls, by saying it's fine when they forgot your birthday. You taught them that you'd always understand, that you'd always wait, that you'd always shrink so they could expand. And now, you're smaller than you ever meant to be. But something changed that Sunday. After your daughter left, you sat alone at that table, and you didn't cry, you didn't complain, you reflected. And then, you decided something. I may not be able to make them see me, but I will not make myself invisible anymore. Way number one, stop trying to earn what should be natural respect is not a trophy. It is not a payment for services rendered. You do not have to earn it by staying quiet, smiling, or saying yes to every request. You are not a helper. You are not a favor. You are a parent. And if they've forgotten that, you must remember it for yourself first. Because when you carry yourself like someone who needs permission to matter, they will treat you that way. But when you start standing, even quietly, in your full worth, people notice, even if they don't say it. That night, you did something small. You turned your phone off after 9, didn't respond to the text from your son asking if you could watch the kids tomorrow. You simply said, "Not tomorrow. I've made plans." You hadn't. But that wasn't the point. The point was, you gave yourself a boundary, and the world didn't end. You slept better that night. Not because you'd fixed anything, not because they'd apologized, but because for the first time in a long while, you'd started coming back to yourself. And that is where it all begins. You don't have to shout. You don't have to fight. You just have to remember who you are, before they forgot. In the next part, you'll discover way number 2. A small, powerful shift that reclaims your voice without saying a single harsh word. You stopped speaking so much. Not out of anger, not to punish anyone. You just grew tired. Tired of explaining. Tired of repeating yourself. Tired of giving advice no one listens to. So you went quiet. And for a while, you thought maybe that's just how it had to be. Maybe you'd had your time. Maybe your voice wasn't needed anymore. But then something happened. You were sitting with your son. He was pacing, talking fast, complaining about work, bills, the noise at home. You sat, listened, didn't interrupt. And finally, when he paused, expecting you to jump in with comfort or solution, you didn't. You just looked him in the eye and said, "Sounds like you already know what you need to do." And then, you were silent. No lecture, no list, no "back in my day." Just presence, strength, stillness. And he looked at you differently after that. Not like you were out of touch, but like you'd just said more in 12 words than most people say in 12 minutes. Way number 2. Speak less, but with authority. You don't need to argue for your place. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to fill every silence. You are not a background character. You're the foundation. And when you speak with calm certainty, with less need to be right, and more trust in your own wisdom, they feel it, even if they don't admit it. You used to think respect came from giving more help, more time, more words. But now you're learning. Respect often returns when you stop chasing it. You remember something else that week. Your youngest called you dramatic when you brought up how long it had been since their last visit. It stung, but you didn't react. You didn't yell. You didn't guilt them. You simply said, "That hurt, and I want to be treated better than that." Then you ended the call, calm, direct, unapologetic, and for the first time in months, they called back. Not to defend themselves, but to listen, to ask how you were. Not just tell you how they are. It wasn't a miracle, but it was movement. Because silence is not weakness. Silence with self-respect is power. You sit on your porch that evening. The breeze is soft. Your phone rests beside you, not in your hand. And you think, maybe I haven't lost their respect? Maybe I just stopped commanding it. When your children stop respecting you, don't raise your voice. Don't beg. Don't play small to stay in their lives. Speak less. Mean more. And protect your own peace first. They will notice. In the next part, you'll discover way number 3. A bold decision that may surprise them, but will teach them to value you again in the most unexpected way. You used to say yes without thinking. Can you watch the grandkids last minute? Yes. Can you drive me to the airport? Of course. Can I crash at your place while I figure things out? Always. You were the fallback, the safety net, the reliable one. And at first, it felt good, needed, like they still counted on you. But eventually, it changed. They stopped saying thank you, stopped asking with softness in their voices. The requests turned into expectations, and if you said no, or even hesitated, suddenly you were difficult, selfish, unreliable. And the worst part? You started to believe it. But last week, something shifted. Your daughter called. "Dad, can you grab the kids from school? I've got a last-minute meeting." And you looked at the calendar. You had a doctor's appointment. Something minor, but still, your time. For a second, you almost said yes. But something in you paused, grounded, and you said, "I can't. I have something scheduled." You braced for the sigh, the frustration, maybe even guilt, but all she said was, "Oh, okay." And just like that, you realized something powerful. You were never their only option. You were just the easiest. Way number 3, don't be more available than they are. Appreciative. Respect begins when your time starts to matter as much as theirs. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to defend your decision to rest, to recharge, to say no. You're allowed to protect your schedule just like they protect theirs. You're allowed to have a life that doesn't revolve around their chaos. You sat with that truth for a long time. And it felt strange, but also right. You started doing small things for yourself again. You took a walk without your phone, read an entire book without checking messages, made plans with someone who actually listens when you speak. You reclaimed time, not out of revenge, but out of restoration. And slowly, your children noticed. Not because you scolded them, but because your absence made them realize the quiet power of your presence. They started asking, "Are you free?" instead of assuming. They started showing up on time, saying thank you. Little things, but meaningful. You don't earn respect by always being there. You earn it by knowing when not to be. Because when you stop giving your time to people who don't value it, you make room for the ones who will. Even if that person is just you. You sit by the window again tonight. Dinner for one. Peaceful. No interruptions. And in that quiet moment, you feel something return. Your time. Your space. Yourself. In the next part, you'll discover way number 4 and number 5. A shift in how you carry yourself that will demand respect without saying a word and rebuild connection on your terms. It started with posture. Not dramatic, just a little straighter, a little taller when you walked into a room. You didn't slouch when they rushed past you, didn't shuffle your feet or stay quiet when they ignored your greeting. You stood, held your ground, spoke with calm and clarity, and slowly, they noticed. Your son asked if something was wrong. You said, "No, just remembering who I am." He blinked, didn't say much after that, but you could see it in his eyes. He heard you, maybe for the first time in a long while. You stopped waiting to be invited. You started choosing your place in the room again, not loudly, not rudely, just present, like someone who belonged. Because you do, way number 4. Reclaim your physical presence. People treat you how they perceive you, and for too long, you let the world, and your children, see you as soft, passive, tired. But you're still here, still standing, still wise, still capable. And when you walk with presence, when you speak with calm certainty, you don't have to demand respect. It begins to return on its own. You made another small change last week. You stopped answering every call immediately. Let some texts sit. Responded on your own time. You took back the right to be unavailable sometimes, to have your own life, your own pace. And in that space, you found something you didn't expect. Confidence. One evening, your daughter asked you for a favor. You paused, took a breath, and said, "I'm happy to help, but I need you to speak to me with more kindness than you did last time." Her face changed. Not with anger, with surprise. You weren't emotional. You weren't aggressive. You were simply clear. And that clarity? It did something no argument ever could. Way number 5. Set boundaries without apology. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your standards. You don't need to defend your limits to have the right to set them. A boundary is not a wall. It's a mirror that shows people how they've been treating you. And when it's set with calm, with consistency, and without apology, it teaches more than words ever could. You've spent a lifetime giving. Now, you're allowed to take space, to own your place, to speak your worth. You don't need them to approve of your dignity for it to be real. Tonight, you sit on your porch, not waiting for a call, not hoping for permission, just breathing, at peace. Strong in who you've become, and deep down, you feel something shift. Not in them, in you. And that's where respect truly begins. In the final part, you'll discover way number 6, the most powerful change of all, when you stop trying to be respected and start living like someone who already is.